Hello lovely people and welcome to a new lesson. In this one we're covering the intro section of Nothing Else Matters. People have been asking me to cover that one. And here's why. Because if you're new to this channel, the way we're going to learn that song is by me giving you tips and tricks on what and how to practice. It's not just about, put your fingers here and this is fret 5, so you have to play fret 5. No, we're way past that. You probably already know how to play. I'll make sure to give you tips and tricks on how and what to practice, hey little girl, so that you can get the best out of this lesson. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. So first things first, we can play that on an acoustic or an electric guitar, it doesn't matter, okay? However, if you're playing with a pick, I'm sorry to say that, but you'll have to play fingerstyle. Here's the rule of thumb, okay? Your thumb basically will take care of the lowest 3 strings, which are the E string, the A string, and the D string. And then the other 3 fingers we're going to use are index, middle finger, and ring finger. The index finger will take care of the G string. The middle finger will take care of the B string, and the ring finger will take care of the high E string. That's what you need to do. You need to commit to those fingers and have it become second nature to you. We got to calm down just a bit. Can't you see I'm talking to the guys? Alright, I'll take care of you in a minute. So what we're going to do is start with the first section, which is all of the zeros, right? And right off the bat, you can look at my right hand and you can see what fingers I'm using for what strings. So as I mentioned, thumb for everything on the bass, and then index, middle, and ring finger for the G, B, and high E strings. Alright? So you're going to play this for 3 times. So take your time to practice these motions. And by the way, I will not play the whole song back to back with a backing track and whatnot, just because I don't want this video to get demonetized or get a copyright strike or any of that, right? So, and it's also good for you to learn in chunks. By the way, here's what I got for you. I got this cigar all the way from California. So a friend of mine was there. Cheers to you, my friend. And he brought these back with him. This is blackened cigar. The new cigars by Metallica, right? So we got one here for the occasion. All right. So now it's time to play that 4th measure. And this is where the melody comes in. Another thing you need to know is that that song is in 6/8, which means you'll be counting the feel as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's how you should feel. Okay? So here's measure number 4. Alright. So here's what needs to happen for all this, this whole section here. What you really need to practice is basically a hammer-on pull-off. Alright? So if these are not coming out, before I even get to those, here's what you need to do. You can do that with a pick or without a pick. It's up to you. You're going to put your fingers on the G string. Why the G string? No reason in particular. So index on 5, middle finger on 6, ring finger on 7, and pinky on 8. And what you're going to do is you're going to train hammer-ons and pull-offs with every possible combinations you have. So for example, hammer-on from 1 to 2. Hammer-on from 1 to 3. Hammer-on from 1 to 4, and make sure that the dynamics are equal for all the notes. It's like I hear the first note and I hear the second note. Okay, they're both, equal in volume. You gotta practice the hammer-ons, then you're gonna practice the pull-offs as well, which is 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1. All right, and then obviously we gotta do all the other combinations. So we have a hammer-on from 2 to 3. From 2 to 4, and then a pull-off from 3 to 2, and a pull-off from 3 to 4, and then a hammer-on from 3 to 4, and a pull-off from 4 to 3. Alrighty, so after having practiced that, what you need to do as well is practice a hammer-on and a pull-off with only one articulation, which means I'm only going to play once, then I'm going to hammer-on and pull-off. So from 1 to 2, right? So it's 1, 2, 1. Then 1, 3, 1. 1, 4, 1. All right? Now, honestly, we might not need all of these combinations. However, we have lots of these in the song. For example, I have 3 to 4, then 4, 3 to 1, then 3 to 1, and then slide. So you'd better practice, all of these combinations just because it's going to be beneficial anyway for your guitar playing in general. After having done the hammer-on pull-off on all of these, and you feel ready and the dynamics are working for all the notes, this is where we can pull, put this back into the song. So here's what we're doing here. Measure 4. I put my third finger on 7. Now, measure 5. And this is where the hammer-on's going to happen. Alright? And remember, with the right hand, we're still using the fingers for the strings we talked about. Now, obviously, some of the combinations you would be able to play index and middle, but in general, just stick to what I said, right? Index for G, middle for B, and ring for E. Now, measure 6. So, you see how I'm using 7 with a ring finger and 8 with a pinky. Why am I doing that? Because we have a... So, how are you going to be able to do that if you're not going to use all of your fingers? I don't know. I'm just asking you. Right? Actually, what I'm telling you to do is to use ring finger for 7 and pinky for 8. So you play 7, and then 8, and then 7 without the B string, just on its own. And then you're going to hammer onto 8, and then you're going to pull off from here, from 8 to 7, and then from 7 to 5. So the stronger your pull off is, the more sustain you'll have. Again. One more time. See how fast that hammer on and the pull off is? So you might not even hear it on the record. So here's how you're going to practice that. Make sure, okay, that you have all of your fingers on the string before you do that. So don't be doing like the, hammering on, then removing that 7, then trying to pull off and try to put that 7 again. You're going to get lots of noise and whatnot. So the way to practice that is to keep your fingers on the fretboard. So 1 on 5 and 3 on 7. And to just do that. See how I don't remove that ring finger from 7? Let's play that in slow-mo. Okay? And see that by the time I hammer on to 8 and I'm pulling off from 8 to 7, I put my index finger on 5 way before I pull off from 7 to 5. And this is going to ensure that you're going to have a great sounding hammer on pull off on that section. Obviously, this needs a lot of training. Okay? There you go. So after this whole section, we play 7 again. And here, after this whole thing, okay, I'm going to move that ring finger down to fret 5. And this is where I'm going to pull off, slide down from 3 to 2, pull off, slide down, pull off, slide down, pull off, slide down. Also, it is worth mentioning that you can put both of your fingers on that string so that when you pull off from 5 to 3, there's, the string is resonating enough so that you can slide it down. Alright. And after that, I'm going to play 0. So I can either pull off from 2 to 0, like that. Right? But if it's too hard, you can just play, you can re-articulate that 0. Now, some people, by reading the tabs, will play 5 on the B string. Well, 5 is just like 0 on the high E string, so why make it harder on you? Just play 0 on the high E string. Okay? It is worth mentioning that by pulling off, I'm actually flicking down. Alright, so if the pull off is not working, you can flick down. There you go. Alright, so let's play this whole section, starting from measure 4, bar 4. There you go. All right. Now, from here on, this is where the serious stuff comes in. Before we attack measure 8 and measure 9, I want you to just practice this. Put your ring finger on 5 G string and pinky on 5 B string. This, and then train moving it up. Okay, don't go choosing, I don't know, middle finger, ring finger, and try to, it's not gonna work. These 2 fingers. Because these shapes originate from the C bar chord and the D bar chord. Okay? This is why it's as if we're doing this. So here for that bar 8, I'm gonna use middle finger for the 5 on the B string and the thumb for the bass, for the 0. And what I'm gonna do on the high E string is use the ring finger for that pull off. So obviously you gotta train that pull off as you have that position on. Alright, so you put your fingers on 5 and 5, and then you try to practice that pull off as your fingers are on 5 and 5. Okay? Because what we want is we want everything to ring out. We gotta let everything ring, or else it's not gonna sound cool. If you're doing everything staccato and you're killing the flow, let's suppose you're doing this. That's not nothing else matters. So let's repeat that again and move on to measure 9. Alright, measure 9, same thing. And this is where we're gonna use all our fingers to play this next section. So, as I mentioned before, thumb is gonna take care of the bass. And now I'm gonna be plucking everything on the G, B, and E string together, okay, using those 3 fingers, these fellas. Remember them? All right. So it's index, middle, and ring again. So I'll be plucking those and the bass all together. And as you can see, my fingers on the 5 don't move for this whole section as I'm walking the bass up. Still here, I'm not moving. The 5 and the 5 stay still for this whole section. Okay? And as you may have noticed, we have another pull-off here. So it's all a game of pull-offs, really. Okay? And you're going to practice that pull-off just the same way we practiced that 2-0. You're going to practice the 3-0. Also same thing while keeping your fingers here on 5-5. All right. Same thing. Same position. You don't move those fingers. Obviously, you gotta move them from 5 to 7, right, to change chords, but don't remove them, okay? And here comes one of the hardest parts of that intro section as well. The hammer-ons and the pull-offs. Again, if you want to pull this off, pun intended, by the way, if you want to pull this off, you have to practice those hammer-ons and the pull-offs in isolation. We have hammer-on pull-off on 5. And by the way, so I'm doing that in isolation, but it's the case inside the song as well. At this point here, we can remove, you know, the fingers from the fretboard. So see? I don't have to keep the ring and the pinky in place for that section here. Alright, hammer on pull off. And then pull off from 7 to 0. And then hammer on from 0 to 5. So I'm using index for 5, ring finger for 7. Alright, you gotta practice those in isolation. Then we're gonna put everything together. Alright, which brings us to this next section, the natural harmonics. So another technique to talk about. So what we're actually doing is this. I'm putting the ring finger in between fret 12 and 13. So I'm putting that on the metal fret that is separating fret 12 from fret 13. And obviously I'm not pressing down. I'm just barely touching, okay? As I mentioned, barely touching the string. All right, let's zoom in, and when I start playing, I'm gonna move away from the string to let it resonate, let it ring. Hear that? Same thing. Obviously, you don't have to move that far away. I'm just exaggerating a little bit. So I use that ring finger for it. You can use middle finger. Doesn't matter. You can use index. You can use any, right? And basically what I do is I roll my ring finger, because as I'm trying to move away from the G, I need to also play the B, and then as I'm trying to move away from the B, I need to play the E. So I roll my finger, I rock it, okay? You can use multiple fingers as well, right? You can do index, middle, and ring. You could do that, right? But why would you? It's more work, right? So there you go. This is pretty straightforward here. We got 3 measures of zeros. All right, this is where the bar chords come in. So we have an E minor bar chord with its root on 5 on the A string. Okay, the chord is on fret 7, but we call that root on 5 because the bass and the root of the chord is on the 5th string. All right. Then we have a C major. Then we have a D major. By the way, if you want to learn about bar chords and you want to dive into this wonderful world, I have a course just for that. So I'm not here to sell you on that course, but I'm just telling you, check it out. You will not regret it, right? You will learn bar chords so much faster, and it will allow you to play songs like nothing else matters, right? So, because it's full of bar chords, especially that section. So we have E minor, we have C, and then we have D, right? So train on playing those bar chords, train on knowing how to move from one bar chord to another. I'm going to put the diagram of the bar chords somewhere on the screen so that you can just, commit to that shape and just memorize it, okay? So after you practice switching from E minor to C to D to E minor to C to D, then you got G. This is a bar chord root on 6, and then we got B7. Now for that B7, you could either play it as a bar chord, that's its shape, or you could play it as an open chord. It's not really gonna matter, okay? It's not gonna differ that much, okay? Just a little bit of, different voicing here, but the highest note is gonna remain the same, so don't worry about that. However, I'm just gonna use a bar chord for the sake of this lesson, all right? So let's take it from here. We're at bar 16. All right, so the first chord, E minor. So what fingers am I using? Obviously the thumb for the bass and the thumb again for the bass. Now, we have another bass on the D string. You can either use the thumb for that as well, or you can use the index, and then middle finger, and then just for the last two, either strum them like that or play them with middle and ring. It really doesn't matter. So regardless if you're using a thumb, index, then middle and ring, you'll be able to use that. And if you're using thumb, index, middle, and then middle, ring, it doesn't matter, right? So whatever floats your boat here. Now for the D and for the C, what I'm going to use is thumb, index on the D string, so that's an exception here, right? And then middle and ring finger for the G and the B. All right, again. I don't know if you noticed, but for the E minor, I did a variation here. The first time I played it with a strumming on the highest 2 strings, and the second time around, just plain plucking. Okay, you could experiment and see which one you like. All right, so we're gonna do that for 2 times, and then the third time, we have another guitar that comes in. I'm not gonna cover that. We're gonna stick to this guitar. The third time we continue. So E minor, and then we have. That's basically the other guitar doing that, okay? The first guitar, the one we're playing, still is the same thing. It's ascending and not descending. So it's an ascending arpeggio, right? But the other guitar is doing a descending motion. So it's like... Same thing, but in reverse. You play the bass, and then you start from the higher note and come down. Okay? Hopefully it makes sense. For a G, same thing. For a B7, same thing, right? That's the second guitar. The first guitar is still gonna do ascending motion. E minor. D, C, G. Also a bar chord. Okay? Actually, we're gonna miss the A string. We're gonna skip it. We're gonna play E string, B string, and then G and B string. And then for B7, we're gonna play A string, D string, and then G and B strings. All right, and then all the zeros twice in a row. All right, let's play this whole section from where the chords start. One more time. One more time. G, B, and then the zeros. Now, if you want to combine the first guitar and the second guitar, what you can do is that the third time around, you can do the descending arpeggio. All right, so it goes like this. That's 1, 2, and then 3. All right, and then E minor. The zeros. There you go. That's for another lesson. Hopefully you enjoyed me breaking this down for you. All right, don't forget to download the PDF for this lesson if you want to. And by the way, you get access to all the other lessons for free and all the other PDFs for free. All right, please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like, and don't forget to tell me what you'd like to learn next. All right, now if you want to learn some other sections of this song, stay tuned because a lot more are coming next. We got the main solo, we got the verse, we got the bridge, we got all of that. All right, stay tuned, practice well, and I'll see you in the next one.